Hello and welcome back everyone to Stylized Environments with Blender 4 Geometry Nodes. In the last lesson, we left ourselves off by creating this piece at the bottom for the wood. We also made sure that we lower this hanger a little bit so we'd have more space for the rope itself. And now we're going to continue on with this. And actually, I'm just going to check bevel if it's all right, which it is. I'm quite happy with this. We're going to continue on with this. We're going to click Alt and H to unhide everything. I'm still going to hide this out of the way. And actually, before doing that, I'm going to click Alt and H. What we can do with Greybox parts as well, we can also move all of them to a different collection. So they would be treated differently even if we unhide them. They're not going to be hidden. They're not going to be visible basically even if we unhide certain parts. So for example, this over here, I don't really want to see it. And I'm going to go ahead and actually hide these parts over here as well. Might as well do that. Going to select them all basically and just simply basically put them in another collection. So at the top right hand corner we see there is collection. They're treated as sort of folders, and everything at the moment is just in one collection that's within the scene collection. Scene collection itself, it's only going to be just you can keep it like one per project. It's what the project is basically. But inside of it, you can have multiple collections. So with this selected, we could, for example, at the top right, create a new collection and then drag them all into that collection. Or a quick shortcut would be if we were to hover over scene collection itself, we can click M, which is for merge in regards to like vertices if you're doing editing or something. So it's a nice shortcut always to have. We can click new collection over here, and then we can call this Greybox and prep. So like Greybox in preparation, we can go ahead and then click OK. And then these are going to be moved into another section. So if we just untick this icon over here, exclude from view layer, we're just going to exclude everything. And now if we click Alt H, it's not going to be visible regardless of what we do with it. So it's quite nice to just hide it out of the way every once in a while, just to make sure it's not there. And then we can go back onto collection and see all these cube and circle, cylinder, planks, roof, all of these meshes that we created so far. Although it looks quite messy, it's actually quite easy to work with, especially if you have a 3D viewport. You can just click through them and have whichever one selected, like so. If you're working with larger projects, of course, you'd want to maybe put them in different categories, collections, have them slightly renamed and whatnot. But for now, for our purposes, because we're making small environment, this is totally acceptable, and it's often seen whilst doing 3D artwork. So going back to this roof, let's go ahead and see how this looks like. We have holes in here. Let's go ahead and find a way for us to fix it. The easiest way to fix that would be to actually make use out of this triangle over here to, if we isolate it, to just grab this triangle basically and then replace it in that hole. And I think that's the easiest way for us to do that. So let's actually do that. I am going to just simply click Y and then GY, and we can see it being split off. We can click P, separate by selection, and now we only have this selection. We can go out of isolation mode. We can hide this main chunk out of the way, and we're going to be left with only this. I'm going to click 1 now, and I'm going to just readjust it. So going to edit mode, I'm going to hit Alt and Z. So we could actually select these and see where they are. Click GZ and just slightly move it so it would look something like this. Now you can see, because this roof is curved, it's not actually going to behave in that kind of way, as in it might start going off from the sides and whatnot. So we'll add a couple of topology bits over here. The best way to do that would be to just click K, which will enable our knife tool, and then we're just going to place one over here. If we hold Shift, we can put it in the center. We can do the same thing while it's holding Shift on the other end as well. And we're going to get ourselves a line that's right in the middle. We can right click to basically stop the knife tool. And there we go. We're going to get ourselves, I'm going to hit Escape because I clicked off on the side. And then we can go on to Move tool, select the vertices, which actually I just made a mistake. So sorry about that. Let me go back onto edit mode, holding Shift, basically clicking on both ends, clicking Enter, and there we go. By clicking Enter, we apply the knife tool, and now we can just go ahead and select these both edges, slightly shrink them inwards like so, and that's going to work really well for us. There we go. All right, we do need a wall texture for this though. So let's go back onto our resource pack. Let's find the wall texture, which is going to be this little cube over here. Wall texture. Let's go ahead and hit Control C and go back onto our well. Hit Control V. That's what we're going to get. I'm going to right away move this into our Greybox collection. Hit M, move this to the Greybox and prep, and there we go, out of the way. But we're still going to have ourselves the texture. So let's go ahead and grab this wall piece, make sure we are within the material, select the wall, and there we go. Just to make sure that we are having the right noise, we're going to go onto edit mode, select it all, click U, Smart UV project, and click OK. This should give us, a nice setup overall. So I think I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so we're still left with quite a lot actually in regards to the framework setup. Let's go ahead and get right onto it. We're going to create a main beam over here to make sure it's properly set. So let's go ahead and hit Shift and A, grab ourselves a cube, make it smaller, GY, GZ, GY. We're making sure that we're not using X axis, so it will be right in the middle. And for this, I'm going to actually click SY as well, make it quite a bit smaller. There we go. That looks quite all right. Now, I like the placement for the bottom piece, but I'm not happy with the upper section. So let's go ahead and go on to edit mode. We're going to hit 3. I'm going to hit Alt and Z to go out of the wireframe mode, select the upper section, bring it all the way up, and let's see how this looks like. I think it's a little bit too thick, so I don't want to change the overall scale. I'm going to select both of these parts, going to hit S and X, shrink it down a little bit. How does this look? I think it looks pretty well actually. I'm quite happy with the result. And I am looking at this, just checking if it has bevel. It does have bevel, that's okay. All right, so we have this set up. It's going to work quite well with this hanging piece, which we're still going to be setting up the lantern over here. But before doing that, of course, we need to make sure that we have some framework over here. And yeah, for that, we're going to go ahead and firstly, set up the texture for this part. Select it all, select A within edit mode, Smart UV project. I will lower this down to the previous value, which was around 40. Let's hit OK. We're going to hit get this set up. I'm going to also go onto object mode, click Control A, apply rotation and scale, and add a bevel. So holding Shift, we're going to lower this down to a value of 0.03. It's usually quite nice as a starting point. Sometimes we need to increase it, sometimes we need to lower it, but all in all, it's going to give us a nice piece. I'm going to check it in render, how it looks like, and it looks much brighter with the edge wear and whatnot. I'm happy with this result. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, so the front piece, let's go ahead and actually grab these parts and for now move them out of the way. I'm going to actually just click M and move this to the gray box as well, so we can now have a proper visual representation of how the front is going to look like. So this piece needs to be slightly curved. We talked a little bit in regards to that. I'm going to bring out the visuals again. There we go. I'm going to just remind you all that we are just curving it a little bit. This will give us overall composition a nice setup because it's not just a simple support. And all in all, the reason for this is just to have a playful setup of shapes. And most of the shapes that we're having are quite round, especially the well itself. It is a cylinder. The stairs are going to be a bit rounded as well in regards to deforming to the well. So the roof itself has a bit of a curve as well. And all in all, we're working mainly with those round shapes. So to keep the aesthetic consistency, we're going to make sure that we are setting this up with those same rules. And for this particular case, we're going to hit Shift A. We're going to grab ourselves a cube. It doesn't matter what actual primitive we're going to use. You'll see why in a second. We're going to bring it outwards. We're going to actually just hit Tab to go into edit mode. Click 1 to go onto vertex mode. And we're going to select only one vertex. We're going to hit Control and I which is actually going to inverse this selection like so. And now we can just go ahead and delete it, delete vertices, and only we're left with this little dot over here. So that's exactly what we want. I'm going to actually right click and I'm going to set origin to geometry, which is going to put it exactly in where this dot is. Now we can go ahead and just move this dot to where we want it to be. So over here, I'm going to bring it inwards like so. I'm now going to go ahead and simply click 1, and I'm going to hit E to extrude, and then I'm going to get basically two lines, two vertices and a line in the middle. So that's actually quite nice for us as a starting point. And for that, I would actually like this to be over here. We're looking at where the curve, the main curve area, the average out section is. So if we look at the curve over here, the way we want it to be is it starts over here, ends over here, and the curve, the main curve, is somewhere around this section over here. So that's where we're aiming to have this line, and actually the bottom piece should be going downwards over here to give us something like this. There we go. I'm going to hit E again, going to place it like so. And now when we have this kind of a setup, what we can do is we can add a modifier, something called skin. So if we add a skin, this right away is going to give us this sort of a setup, and it's actually a little bit too big. I'm going to go back onto object mode, click 1, and just make this quite a bit smaller actually to start it off. Then I'm going to find the vertices and just reposition it. Still too big, so I'm going to make it even smaller like so. And let's have a look how this looks like. I think it's still a little bit too big. Let me lower this down. There we go. That's quite a nice thickness, maybe a little bit bigger like so. I'm going to click Alt and Z just to see these vertices, reposition them back in like so. Maybe I should have another vertex over here, so I'm going to click G, move this a little bit upwards, and we're going to have this sort of a result. And we're still not quite done with the overall setup for skinning. We need to make sure that the frame is actually, well, beveled off a little bit. We actually need to make sure that this section has not as sharp of a corner, which all of that stuff we're going to make sure we sort out in the next lesson. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you in a bit.